Hello, I'm doing a book review, and the book I want to review is Volume 2 of the Superman story arc, The Black Ring. Now, I've already reviewed Volume 1 of this story arc, and I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can check out that review. Now, most of the issues collected in this volume were written by Paul Cornell, however, there's one issue in here written by Gail Simone. Now, at the beginning of this volume also crosses over with a comic book series called The Secret Six. Now, I'm not too familiar with this series. I'm familiar with some of the members of this team, like Bane and Deadshot are both members of this team, but I'm not too familiar with the actual Secret Six comics. Now, to quickly recap what happened in the first volume of this story arc, it followed Lex Luthor, who was on a quest for the Black Lantern rings, and if he collects all of them, he'll gain ultimate power. And while on his quest, he crossed paths with the likes of Mr. Mind, Slade Wilson, Gorilla Grodd, and even Death herself. Now, at the end of Volume 1, you found out that the character Vandal Savage, who is an immortal who existed since the dawn of human civilization, he wants to kill Lex Luthor because it's prophesized that if he does so, he'll achieve ultimate happiness. And Luthor knows about Savage's plot against him, so he hires the team The Secret Six to protect him, but one of the members of The Secret Six is a woman named Vandal Savage, who is Vandal Savage's daughter. Now, this whole storyline is wrapped up in, I want to say, the first two issues collected in here, but you get a lot of really interesting characterization with The Secret Six, which I'm sure is stuff referencing the actual Secret Six comics. But when you get insight into Vandal Savage's relationship with his daughter, you realize what a fucking bastard he is. After this storyline with the Secret Six is wrapped up, you get these two sort of self-contained stories about a young Lex Luthor, and about Lex's rise to power. In this first story, you find out that when Lex Luthor was a young man, he was actually abducted by Darkseid, but found a way to escape from Apocalypse. You also find out that Perry White tried to take Lex Luthor under his wing, but you find out that even as a young man, Luthor was a shithead. In the second story about young Lex Luthor, you find out that at a certain point, Ghul actually tried to take Lex Luthor under his wing. After that, the rest of the volume follows the same course that the first volume was following of Lex Luthor and his girlfriend, who is a robot version of Lois Lane, going on a quest for the rest of the Black Lantern rings, culminating in Lex Luthor accidentally releasing an evil god from the Phantom Zone. But yeah, Volume 2 of The Black Ring, like the first volume, was a very interesting read, and there are some really cool moments in this, like, at one point Lex Luthor visits the Joker because one of these black rings or black spheres that they're looking for is somehow in the Joker's cell. And one of the black spheres shows the Joker a vision of the future, and you actually see the Joker have a moment of vulnerability. And Superman does finally show up at the end of this story arc, and during the final confrontation between Luthor and Superman, you get sort of this moment of revelation between these two lifelong enemies that I don't want to give away, but it is really interesting, and in a lot of ways you realize that Luthor is a victim of his own ego, and during the final fight between Superman and Lex Luthor at the end, you could tell that Superman in some way does kind of feel sorry for Luthor. But yeah, I definitely recommend both volumes 1 and 2 of this story arc. Now, the first volume was definitely a little more comedic, whereas in this one, things start to get a little bit darker. But again, The Black Ring is a very interesting read. Now, there are a lot of references to other DC story arcs and other comic book series, so it might be kind of hard to read this as a standalone story, but again, I do recommend picking these volumes up. So, this concludes 2021 series of Superman reviews. Now I'll be getting into this year's series of Batman reviews, which I'll be starting with a review on Frank Miller's groundbreaking Batman comic, The Dark Knight Returns, which I actually reviewed back in 2013 when I first started doing these Batman reviews, but I decided to re-review it, so stay tuned for that review, and bye.